hello and welcome. And we're going to talk about voting. Oh boy. And everybody has that right now on their mind. And Conway Belangia is here with me. He is the director of Greenville County Elections. Big job.
Yes, ma'am, it is.
You're getting nervous?
I've been nervous for months.
So you don't attempt to tell people how to vote, but you want them to be sure to vote.
Absolutely. We would like every person who is registered to vote and wants to vote, that they get that opportunity to vote. And we really want those people who are not thinking about voting to change their mind and participate in the process.
You know, there are people who have absolutely given their lives so that we have the privilege of going to a poll and picking somebody. Whether we win or lose, whether the person we voted for wins, that's not the point. I think we are so blessed that we have a voice.
Absolutely. And that voice is not paid for by political ads and campaigns, but by the blood that's been spilt, and most of it on foreign ground to make sure that we were protected and blessed. And so we want people to participate in the process.
Now I'd like to ask you, what is it that so people aren't confused, what do you have to do and who is eligible to vote?
Right. First of all, you must be registered to vote, and you have to be registered at your place of residence. So if you've moved recently, if you've not corrected your address since your last election, then you probably need to take a look at it and go on to scvotes.org, see the address that you have on your information, and on election day, that's where you need to go vote. Now, if you've moved from one county to another, you may have some real difficulty because you have to meet a 30-day requirement to register.
Okay.
But if you moved within the county, say from one end of the county to the other, or down the street, or change cities within a county, you can go back to your old precinct one time and do an address change there.
Okay.
Or you can come down to our office and join the line of people who'll be down there changing their address.
Now, are you expecting there's a lot of interest right now in this election.
Well,
are you expecting big crowds?
Well, we expect big crowds. Presidential election, especially during a year when we do not have an incumbent president, usually dictates that we have a large number of people to vote. We hope that to be the case here. I would love to see everybody who is registered to vote go out and cast a ballot, because that means we get closer to our representative democracy that we put a lot of faith and trust in. So we want people to participate. They need to vote in the precinct where they are registered to vote. If they've moved, we can do an address change, provided they haven't switched counties.
So if you haven't moved, if you've just moved down the street, it's okay. But if you move in a different county, then
you have to re-register in your new county.
All right.
That's where the problem is. But polls will open 7 o'clock and be open at 7 a.m. We'll close at 7 p.m. So it's a full day of voting. The lines will probably be there simply because we've got more registered voters in Greenville County than we've ever had. We have over 317,000 registered voters in Greenville County.
Just right in Greenville County alone.
Right in Greenville County alone. That's the largest number we've ever had. And if we have a turnout that is a presidential election turnout, we'll have some lines in some places. We hope not long lines. We will do everything we can to process voters through as quickly as we possibly can.
All right. Now, what does somebody, when they come up to the polling place, what do they have to prove who they are?
Right?
They
have to have a photo ID.
Some kind of identification.
Right. So South Carolina driver's license, the ID card issued by DMV for people who don't drive, a passport, a military ID card, or the picture ID issued by the voter registration office. If somebody doesn't have one of those other IDs, they can come get their picture made on their voter registration card. And their concealed weapons permit is now acceptable.
Wait a minute, back up a minute. You lost me.
I'm sorry.
What, concealed weapons?
Concealed weapons permit.
Permit.
Yeah, it's a card.
So you can use that to vote?
That. Yes.
Oh, well, live and learn.
True. But the one thing to remember is those have to be current and correct. They cannot be expired. So they have to be current. If you're passport's over 10 years old, it won't work. That sort of thing. And if somebody's never been issued and they don't have a way to get a photo ID, there is a way for that person to cast a ballot at the polling place by voting what's called a reasonable impediment ballot. And it's a paper ballot, but it says, I have not had the opportunity because I don't have a birth certificate, or for whatever reason, they don't have a photo ID. So we covered just about every possible situation.
Okay, now who is eligible? What age? Let's get basic for all of us here, because you forget.
Must be 18 years of age.
Have to be 18.
And older.
And older, yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
And it covers everybody else older. Must be a U.S. citizen, a South Carolina resident, a resident of Greenville County. You have to be properly registered in your residence, your place of residence, and that will qualify you to cast a ballot on election day.
So you have to be registered ahead of time. You can't just walk in there and hand them a driver's license.
Right. You have to be registered ahead of time, and you have to produce that photo ID. And so those are the two things to make sure we do. And if you've moved and not corrected your address with us, check on scvotes.org and see where you're registered so you can go to the right place on election day.
So you can still go back to your old neighborhood.
Right. One time.
One time. I didn't know that.
We do an address change there to let you vote there one time if you have failed to correct it with us and your move was within the county.
Okay. Now this holds true for everybody. I mean, if somebody's up in North Carolina or Georgia or wherever, these rules are pretty steady, aren't they?
Well, I can speak to South Carolina. I'm
no,
not
but I mean,
sure,
they have to have also an ID and all. You can't just walk in. You've got to. It's got to be done right.
In North Carolina, they don't have to have an ID now.
Oh, really?
There was a court,
shame on them.
There was a court ruling that their ID was thrown out. Their required ID. So North Carolina right now, I understand, and I'm not versed in this.
That seems a bit strange.
Well, that was a new thing for them in North Carolina up until they passed this ID need for the North Carolina voters. It was a situation where you would show up, say your name, and you would be allowed to vote without an ID in North Carolina. So the ID thing is definitely
But here in our state, you have to have an ID.
Correct.
A photo.
Now a photo ID, yes. Now, we've always had to have some sort of ID in order to vote since the mid-50s. You had your voter registration card that had a physical description on it. Then in the early 70s, we went to allowing driver's license as well as a voter registration card. Then recently, whenever they passed the photo ID need, they moved it to other things but took away the voter registration card unless you could get a picture on that voter registration card.
Okay. Now, I know that there's a lot of interest in this election, and I guess whenever there's a presidential election, it creates a little extra stir, but this one seems very dramatic, and you don't attempt to influence people. What if somebody's standing in line waiting to vote? What do you do about people? There are rules and regulations, right?
Right. We don't allow anybody to politic in line. They can't try to influence somebody's vote. They may not use cell phones inside the polling place because we wouldn't want them on the cell phone saying, "Oh, I'm here at the precinct and I'm going to vote for so and so."
No cell phones.
No cell phones inside the polling place. And we try to make sure that the area inside the polling place, of course, is free of any politicking and campaign material.
They're not allowed to do that. No. But outside, are there pictures and signs and all that available?
The signs and the handouts are they can't do that within 200 feet of the door.
Okay.
But the candidates and their representatives can be inside of 200 feet and politic. They just can't distribute or display campaign material.
And how do you expect to have a big turnout?
Yes, we expect turnout to be probably 65 to 70% of the registered voters in Greenville County, and that would be a tremendous turnout for us.
It does always seem sad to me that somebody doesn't put forth the effort to vote in any election when you think that there are people in the world who would give anything to have a say in their government, and they don't.
Absolutely. There are people in other countries that will walk for a day to vote and then have another day's walk back home. And
You're kidding.
some county, I mean, some places in the world, they fear for their life because they may be shot, blown up, any number of things that would be threatening to their life. But they will still go vote because of the right that they have. And yet some of our people turn their nose up at it and just will not participate.
When we go to vote, we are celebrating our freedom, each one of us. And it takes a little time and a little effort, but it's worth it. When you think of the people who have given their lives that we have this privilege. I thank you for coming. And in one last moment, is there something you want to say to people?
Well, 7 to 7, be prepared for a line, take your proper ID, and make sure you're going to the right polling place.
All right. Thank you so much, Conway Belangia. Thank you for sharing with us.
Thank you so very much for giving the people the opportunity to make a difference.
We'll be right back.